Hello friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please like this video and subscribe the channel. Let's start the second and final part of the story. Let's go. The courtroom had transformed into something far more volatile than a legal chamber. What had begun as a dispute over money and property was rapidly unraveling into the exposure of years of resentment, secrets, and emotional wounds that had never truly healed. Every person in the room could feel it. The tension was no longer hidden behind polite smiles or carefully rehearsed statements. It hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. Janelle stood firm, her shoulders squared, refusing to back down. Heads turned toward her as she spoke. "You've been bleeding us dry," she said, her voice steady but sharp. "All these years, while the rest of us struggled, every decision was made to make Robin feel like a queen." The words struck the room like a thunderclap. Robin spun around instantly, outrage flashing across her face. "Don't put this on me," she snapped. Janelle didn't even flinch. Why not? For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Meri stood. The emotion in her face shocked everyone. For months, she had remained guarded, refusing to reveal the pain she carried. But now the walls were finally cracking. "You cried every time things didn't go your way," Meri said, staring directly at Robin. "And every single time, Kody bent over backward to protect you while the rest of us were told to be patient." Robin looked stunned. "I never wanted this," she shouted. "Yes, you did," Janelle answered quietly. The softness of her voice somehow made the accusation even more devastating. "You wanted to be the favorite. You wanted to be the one he chose above everyone else. And now you are." Silence followed. Not a single person in the courtroom moved. It was no longer about finances. It was about truth. Years of truth. The judge finally raised his voice. "Enough." Everyone immediately fell silent. "This is not a family therapy session," he said sternly. "This is a court of law." He paused and looked down at the evidence spread before him. "However, based on what I have seen, this matter has gone far beyond a simple property dispute." The room grew colder. Every eye fixed on the judge. "This court is preparing to refer these findings to the district attorney for review regarding possible financial fraud." The words landed heavily. Robin's jaw dropped. "You can't do that." The judge looked directly at her. "I can. And I just did." A ripple of whispers swept through the gallery. Effective immediately, the judge continued, "All accounts connected to the entities under investigation will be frozen pending review." Kody's face turned pale. "That's everything," he muttered. "No," Janelle interrupted. She turned toward him. "That was our savings. You just forgot it belonged to other people too." The truth hit harder than any legal ruling. Christine sat down slowly. Her hands trembled. Years of frustration and heartbreak battled behind her eyes. Meri folded her arms and stared at Robin with open disappointment. "This is your legacy," she whispered. Robin looked devastated. Not because she felt remorse. Because for the first time she was losing control. The judge's voice broke the silence once again. The alternative to all of this would have been honesty. Nobody argued. Nobody could. The court no longer saw a family struggling to survive. It saw a carefully built empire collapsing beneath the weight of its own secrets. Then Janelle slowly rose. "Your Honor," she said, "I have one final document I'd like to submit tomorrow." The judge looked intrigued. "What kind of document?" Janelle hesitated. "One that doesn't just explain what happened." The room waited. "It explains why." The judge nodded. "I'll allow it." The gavel struck. Court is adjourned until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Nobody moved immediately. The decision felt too large. Too final. Christine was the first to leave. She hurried toward the exit, fighting back tears. Robin remained frozen. Kody stared blankly at the table. For the first time, he looked like a man forced to confront the consequences of his own actions. Janelle walked slowly toward the doors. Exhausted. Not triumphant. Not happy. Simply exhausted. Just before leaving, she glanced back. Meri met her eyes. A small nod passed between them. No words were necessary. After all the years of distance and disappointment, they finally understood one another. The next morning felt different. The courthouse seemed colder. Heavier. The final day had arrived. Janelle entered carrying a plain blue envelope. Inside it rested the evidence she had protected for years. Christine sat quietly nearby. The fight seemed to have drained every ounce of energy from her. Robin arrived next. Dark makeup surrounded tired eyes. She looked as though she hadn't slept. Kody appeared last. He looked older than he had just 24 hours earlier. Defeated. For the first time, Meri chose a seat beside Christine rather than beside Kody. The message was impossible to miss. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Then the proceedings began. "Miss Brown," the judge said, "you indicated you had one final submission." Janelle stepped forward. She handed the blue envelope to the clerk. The judge opened it. A puzzled expression crossed his face. "This appears to be a diary." "A scanned copy," Janelle explained. The courtroom listened closely. Handwritten entries from 2021 and 2022. The judge flipped through several pages. "And why did you keep this?" "Because I was afraid." The admission stunned the room. "I worried that if I stored everything digitally, someone might find it and erase it." The judge nodded slowly. "And what exactly do these entries contain?" Janelle took a deep breath. "Conversations. Transfers. Dates. Statements Kody made when he thought nobody was listening. Situations where Robin asked me to sign documents without explanations." The pages continued turning. Flip. 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 Then the judge stopped. His expression darkened. This aligns almost perfectly with the forensic report. Kody's attorney immediately jumped to his feet. "Objection. Personal journals are unreliable." The judge shook his head. "Overruled." The attorney froze. "It is admissible." Another pause. "And persuasive." A visible wave of relief passed through Christine. The final pieces were finally falling into place. The truth was no longer scattered. It was becoming impossible to deny. The courtroom remained silent after the judge's ruling on the diary. For several long moments, the only sound was the faint rustling of paper as he reviewed page after page of Janelle's handwritten records. Every person in the room seemed to be holding their breath. Years of memories, accusations, and unanswered questions now sat before the court in black and white. The judge finally lifted his gaze. His eyes settled on Kody. "Mr. Brown," he said calmly, "do you deny making any of these statements?" The question seemed simple, yet it carried the weight of years. Kody opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The silence itself felt like an answer. Robin shifted nervously beside him. "We were just trying to keep everything together," she whispered. The judge's expression remained unchanged. "Intent does not erase consequences." His voice echoed through the room. "The evidence presented to this court demonstrates significant financial and emotional harm." Nobody argued. Nobody could. The mountain of evidence had become too large, too detailed, too consistent. This was no longer a disagreement about family finances. It was a complete accounting of trust broken over many years. The judge folded his hands. "Before I issue my final ruling, does anyone wish to speak?" Christine slowly rose from her seat. Her voice trembled. Yet every word was clear. "When I left," she began, looking toward Kody, "I didn't leave because I hated you." The room listened. "I left because I wanted peace." Tears gathered in her eyes. "For years I believed I had failed. I thought I wasn't good enough. I thought I was the reason everything was falling apart." She paused. "Now I know that wasn't true." The emotion in the room deepened. Christine drew a long breath. "I spent years carrying guilt that never belonged to me." She sat down. No one spoke. Moments later, Meri stood. Her expression was calm, but there was pain beneath the surface. "I stayed because I believed loyalty was the highest virtue." Her gaze never left Kody. "I convinced myself that if I remained faithful long enough, things would eventually improve." A bitter smile crossed her face. They never did. The courtroom remained silent. "Loyalty without respect is not love." She shook her head. "It is servitude." For the first time in years, Meri sounded completely free. Then Robin stood. Tears filled her eyes. "You all think this was my fault." Nobody interrupted. "I was scared too," she said. "I didn't know everything that was happening." Janelle slowly turned toward her. The disappointment in her eyes was unmistakable. Yes, you did. The words landed heavily. Robin froze. Janelle continued. You knew more than you want to admit. The room felt suspended in time. You let the lies continue because you believed those lies benefited you. Robin lowered her head. No response came. The judge waited several moments before speaking again. I am prepared to issue my ruling. Everyone returned to their seats. The tension became unbearable. The judge adjusted his glasses. Then he began. This court finds that Kody Brown and Robin Brown knowingly concealed and misrepresented financial information connected to jointly shared family accounts. The words echoed through the courtroom. Christine gasped softly. Meri closed her eyes. Janelle remained motionless. The judge continued. Damages will be calculated following completion of the forensic audit and shall be awarded to Janelle Brown and Christine Brown. Kody stared ahead. Expressionless. Almost numb. Then came the statement nobody expected. This court further directs that all findings be referred to the district attorney for review regarding allegations of fraud, forgery, and financial misconduct. A shocked breath escaped Robin's lips. The room erupted into whispers. The judge struck the gavel. Order. Silence returned. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down one final time. And just like that, the legal battle was over. Yet everyone knew another chapter was beginning. Outside the courthouse, reporters had already gathered. Camera flashes illuminated the entrance. News crews waited eagerly for reactions. But Janelle ignored them all. She walked past the microphones without slowing. Christine followed. Then Meri. For the first time in years, the three women walked together. Not as rivals. Not as competitors. As survivors. Behind them, Kody and Robin remained seated inside the courtroom. Neither appeared eager to face the outside world. Later that afternoon, Christine and Janelle sat together discussing everything that had happened. The ruling should have brought relief. Instead, something still felt unfinished. Then Janelle opened her bag. She carefully removed a second USB drive. Christine stared. What is that? Janelle looked at it thoughtfully. Everything else. Christine frowned. What does that mean? It means there are things the court never saw. The room grew quiet. Janelle connected the drive to her laptop. Dozens of folders appeared. Voice recordings. Emails. Financial records. Photographs. Private messages. Years of hidden information. Christine's eyes widened. How long have you had all this? Long enough. One folder immediately caught her attention. Family recordings. Janelle clicked it. An audio file appeared. She pressed play. The room filled with Kody's voice. You aren't really a wife anymore, Meri. The recording continued. I only keep things looking normal because it helps the public image. Meri stared at the screen. The color drained from her face. The words hurt even though years had already passed. Another recording followed. This time directed toward Christine. If you leave, everyone will blame you. The threat echoed through the room. Christine slowly looked away. He actually said that. Janelle nodded. Now it's documented. The evidence wasn't just financial anymore. It was emotional. Personal. A complete record of manipulation. Another folder contained emails. Hundreds of messages. Many discussed money transfers. Others discussed property. Some discussed ways to pressure family members into signing documents. The pattern became impossible to ignore. Years of control. Years of deception. Years of secrets. Rain tapped softly against the windows outside. The weather seemed to mirror the mood inside the room. Eventually, Christine looked at Janelle. What are you going to do with all of this? Janelle considered the question carefully. I don't want revenge. Then what do you want? The truth. The answer came immediately. Not anger. Not punishment. Truth. That evening a message arrived on Janelle's phone. It was from Kody. Only 4 words appeared on the screen. What do you want? Janelle stared at the message. 10 minutes passed. Finally, she typed a response. Come alone tomorrow. Then she pressed send. The next morning arrived quietly. Sunlight filtered through the blinds. The USB drive sat on the coffee table. Waiting. A knock sounded at the door. Janelle waited intentionally. She wanted him to feel uncertainty, to experience a fraction of what everyone else had felt for years. Eventually, she opened the door. Kody stood outside. Alone. He looked exhausted. "You said come alone." "I did." He stepped inside. His eyes immediately found the USB drive. "What is this?" "A chance." Kody frowned. "A chance for what?" "To listen." Janelle pressed play. The recordings filled the room. One after another. His own voice. His own words. His own admissions. There was nowhere left to hide. No explanations. No excuses. No clever arguments. Only truth. When the final recording ended, silence returned. Kody stared at the floor. "You kept all of this." "I protected it." The answer was simple. For years, he had assumed nobody was paying attention. Now he understood how wrong he had been. Finally, he spoke. "What do you want?" Janelle leaned forward. "I want you to tell the truth." He looked confused. To who? To everyone. Hours later, Christine and Meri arrived. A camera had been set up. Nothing elaborate. Nothing dramatic. Just a simple recording. One final conversation. One final opportunity. Kody sat before the camera. Across from him sat the women whose lives had been forever changed. The camera began recording. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Kody finally broke the silence. "I manipulated the finances." His voice trembled. "I lied." Nobody interrupted. "I forged signatures." The room remained still. "I hid information." Each admission felt heavier than the last. "I treated loyalty as something I deserved rather than something I earned." Tears appeared in Christine's eyes. Kody continued. "I blamed people for problems I created." His voice cracked. "I cared more about control than honesty." The confession continued for nearly an hour. No shouting. No dramatic arguments. Just truth. Painful truth. When it was over, nobody applauded. Nobody celebrated. Some wounds were too deep for celebration. Eventually, Christine stood. "You took years from me." Kody lowered his head. "I know." Meri spoke next. "You kept me waiting for something that was never coming." Again he nodded. "I know." Finally, Janelle stood. The room became silent. She looked directly at him. "We aren't doing this because we hate you." Kody looked up. "We are doing this because we refuse to lie anymore." The words lingered in the room. The camera continued recording. The truth had finally been spoken. Not perfectly. Not completely. But honestly. And sometimes honesty is where healing begins. Weeks later, the footage remained private. It wasn't released online. It wasn't sold. It wasn't used for revenge. Instead, it became a record. Proof that the truth had finally been acknowledged. Life slowly moved forward. Christine focused on building a new future. Meri began helping other women recognize controlling relationships and rebuild their confidence. Janelle dedicated herself to financial education and empowerment. As for Kody, he largely disappeared from public view. For the first time in years, there were no cameras, no performances, and no carefully crafted narratives. Only reflection. Only consequences. Only reality. The family they once imagined could never be restored. Too much damage had been done. Too many promises had been broken. Yet something important had survived. Truth. And unlike money, property, or television fame, truth could not be hidden forever. The courtroom battle had ended. The headlines eventually faded. The public moved on to other stories. But for those who lived through it, one lesson remained. Secrets may survive for years, sometimes decades. Yet eventually they emerge into the light. And when they do, the truth becomes stronger than the lies that tried to bury it. Final part is the end. Please support my channel. New episode coming very soon.